Welcome, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Sandra Smith. Here today is Harris Faulkner, Andrea Tantaros, host of Kennedy on Fox Business Kennedy. And today is hashtag One Lucky Guy, also from our sister network, FBN. Charles Payne is here, and he is outnumbered.
Outnumbered.
How's it? Good to see you.
You too. It's been too long.
Yeah, it has been. And I see you're wearing Playboy cufflinks.
Yes, I am. Can we zoom in on those? Because, you know.
No more dirty pictures, only good journalism.
I figured they're politically correct now, right? I was going to wear them last time, so I was kind of happy when the news came out. They're less controversial, but a sad day for most older men. The younger guys don't care because they've always had the internet, but you know.
All right. It's always fun to have you, Charles. Great to have you here. All right, let's get to the news. This could be a critical week for Hillary Clinton. She's about to square off with Republicans in Congress when she testifies Thursday before the Select Committee investigating the Benghazi attacks that occurred during her watch as Secretary of State. The attacks that left 4 Americans, including our ambassador, Chris Stevens, dead. This, as the chair of that committee says, new information reveals the ambassador's pleas for beefed up security fell on deaf ears. That Stevens ran up against a State Department that seemed more concerned about the PR headache presented by a deteriorating Libya. Chairman Trey Gowdy.
The total disconnect between what was happening in Libya with the escalation in violence, that we were a soft target, that there was an increase in anti-Western sentiment, that we were facing an uptick in violence while Washington is asking him to read and react to a Sidney Blumenthal email and help on how to message the violence. He needed help on how to deal with it.
For her part, Hillary Clinton repeating her claim that the Benghazi investigation is just a stunt by Republicans to pull down her poll numbers, adding she has already testified on Benghazi.
I don't know that I have very much to add. This is, after all, the 8th investigation. Other committees of the Congress, standing committees with very experienced members and staff, have all looked into this and basically just rejected the conspiracy theories that are still floating out there in some circles.
All right, so what do you make of that, Charles? I mean, she's saying, and in this interview that aired over the weekend, she doesn't have anything else to add.
She better have something else to add, because I think her cavalier attitude toward this is one of the reasons those so-called conspiracy theories continue to linger, which is, by the way, the main Clinton go-to card, right? Whenever something has gone badly or poorly for the Clintons, they always say it's a right-wing conspiracy that's after them. And the fact of the matter is, she seemed to be very almost indifferent about it. What difference does it make? It's in the past, yada, yada. A lot of questions have not been answered, hence the 8th investigation. We would like, as the American people, to know what exactly happened, and maybe to get some sort of a mea culpa, because we know that things did not go right, that there was a PR element to this, that there was a cover-up element to this. It would be nice for someone to be honest.
And polling, Kennedy, shows that this isn't just Republicans that are wanting more answers. American people are not satisfied with the answers and the answers that Hillary Clinton has provided on this. They want the investigation to continue.
And I'm sure Democrats want to put it to bed. And you know, her transparent 90s playbook isn't doing her any favors. And, you know, Democrats want to know if she is the nominee. They have to have a solid candidate, and they do want to put it behind them. I'm more interested in the methodology, and I'm hoping that those 70 witnesses, including Secretary Clinton, that they bring forward, actually yield something and give us more answers to the questions that have been lingering for so long. And that's what Trey Gowdy is promising.
And it's tough, Andrea, to hear her say this is just politics, when yet we still don't have the questions answered that everybody wants to have answered.
Right, not even that, but she also thought it was pretty funny. A laughing matter with Jake Tapper. We have that sound. Watch this.
I know Bernie Sanders said that, quote, the American people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails. But there are a lot of people who are not.
Well,
including FBI officials looking into whether national security was compromised because of this server.
The largest national security breach in recent memory, where 4 Americans died, is no laughing matter. One that she created, by the way, for political reasons. And Sandra, there are 3 phases to this scandal. There is the phase that led up to this. What was Ambassador Stevens doing in Tripoli with security that was drawn down? If this was her friend, and we know from reporting by the Weekly Standard, Stephen Hayes, he FOIA'd these emails. He knew about these cables. He had been asking for security. Hillary didn't give it to him. Yet she sent him to Tripoli that night with no security. And by the way, there was an attack on the consulate in Tripoli, the British consulate, and the Red Cross. They had closed both of them down in the weeks that led up to it. And Sandra, our consulate was attacked twice before that fateful night in Benghazi. Twice. And the second time, a hole was blown in the wall so big that 20 men could walk through. Why wasn't the president, which I assume he was informed because that's U.S. soil, why didn't they shut down that consulate? Why didn't they give them more security? Why was there a stand-down order?
The details of that
why
night.
did they cover it up with those ads in Pakistan and try and blame it on a video and then jail the filmmaker? There are still so many questions to the 3 phases of the scandal.
And it's also,
can I just add something very quickly to what she said about Chris Stevens and his location? The location, his location in Benghazi was in one of Hillary Clinton's emails. It was deemed classified. So that information could have been compromised, and we still have yet to know if that compromise led to the attack, since his whereabouts were clearly known.
So what do you expect this week, Harris?
Well, one thing is for certain, I mean, hearing the details come as clearly as Andrea just put them, is that now we're all being reminded. Remember, they did all the polling about how people cared less about this over the summer, and Hillary Clinton's campaign was kind of using that. Well, they're not anesthetized now by the vacation time. Now it comes back, and it comes back fresh with new information, with new details from emails. I think it's very telling that at one point Christopher Stevens said, he joked, maybe we should ask another government to pay for security upgrades because our government is not willing to do it. We have those facts now, and I don't think she can run away from those. It's going to be really difficult now. The timing is, it's closer to the primary season. The timing is bad for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, exactly. Why didn't she give him more security and answer those cables? Well, most of those who watched that first Democratic debate for 2016 say that they think that Hillary Clinton gave the best performance, but her strong showing did not approve her standing in a new poll. It shows Clinton at 45% in the race for the nomination, with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders behind her at 29%. That's a slight improvement for Sanders. But for Hillary, her status is basically the same as before the debate. So, Harris, what do you think about this? I mean, she did do well compared to the others on the stage, but it goes back to that theory that your mind is pretty much made up about Hillary Clinton. You either like her or you don't.
Yeah, I was looking down at my phone because there was some new information today about exactly where she was. The fact that she's the same in the polling just tells me that she didn't hurt herself necessarily in the debate. But it doesn't say that she's fending off Bernie Sanders. And if you had asked the question of whether Hillary Clinton would be fending off Bernie Sanders this late in the game 6 months ago, I think most knowledgeable people in politics, and maybe those of us who are not so knowledgeable at times, would have said no way. But she has continuously hurt herself by not answering the questions about Benghazi.
I'm trying to be respectful.
I love the fact that he's listening to me. I love it. But she hasn't answered questions that needed to be answered early on, and I think she didn't listen to her own people when they talked to her.
Charles, is she playing not to lose now? Is that the strategy?
I think we all probably have to go back and recheck on what's winning and losing these days. I really think that this political season has been turned so upside down that people who watch this for a living, people who opine on this for a living, they watched that and they said that Hillary won. Social media said Bernie Sanders won. I think there's a disconnect not only between the way things are gone, but how it's covered. And I think this is why the media has gotten all of this wrong, from Donald Trump to Bernie Sanders to Ben Carson. Maybe Bernie Sanders won. Maybe that's why Hillary didn't go up. Maybe Bernie Sanders resonated more. Maybe he was more authentic. Maybe they believed he would follow through on whatever he promised. Whatever it was, maybe with the American people, he really won, and he is a true threat.
Well, I think, younger people certainly who would take to social media are moved by Bernie Sanders' message. I don't think there's anyone they identify with demographically in the race right now. I think Bernie Sanders' policies are incredibly dangerous. I think he would put us on a fast track to becoming Greece. I think socialism doesn't work in the United States of America. Having said that, I think Hillary Clinton is unethical and abhorrent. And even though I have so much personal disdain for her, I still think she won the debate.
You know, Sandra, you talk all the time about why aren't they talking about the economy? And it seems like even when Hillary Clinton tries, whether you agree with her policies or not, she can't break away from this email scandal to talk about perhaps the things that she wants to talk about. So she can't move these numbers either way.
I thought you were going to say I always talk about track and field, because that's what I was thinking of. When you looked at the stage that night, you saw the least competitive race, right? You saw the least options on the table, and it just wasn't that exciting to watch. She was the clear front runner, and you walked away, as you were pointing out earlier, Andrea, you've already decided you either like her or you don't. I just wonder if this was an even better thing for the Republican Party, because they are offering more options. It is a more competitive race, and quite frankly, people are just more entertained by it.
A lot of people say that the Republicans won that night, that Joe Biden might have won that night, that a whole lot of other winners who weren't on that stage probably emerged.
But she was
what about diversity, Charles? Because you look at the stage, too, and they're talking about spreading the wealth around and reaching out, and they claim to be this diverse party. But to me, looking at the stage, it was a face of white privilege. I mean, there's a bunch of, like, white senior citizens. And then you look at the Republican stage, and you have the most diverse crowd that we've seen in decades.
We're starting to see that more and more. I think that whole kind of race, gender card, even though Hillary played it all throughout the debate, in real life is fading away. And I think more and more people are seeing through that smoke screen.
Well, it makes sense why they were all talking about expanding Social Security on stage. What? Their combined age is like 750.
Well, Donald Trump and Jeb Bush not backing down. The two of them all weekend long. Did you see it? A war of words, a back and forth over George W. Bush and 9/11. How each Republican candidate is doubling down, and who stands to lose the most in this one. Plus, tensions are high after a weekend of escalating violence in the Middle East. Secretary of State John Kerry heading to Israel to try and put a stop to the violence. But will Kerry be able to help solve this ongoing conflict? And right after the show, catch more from the couch, the Lunchtime Love Sandwich, where you get to talk to us and ask us things like, what did you do this weekend? And how does Charles select his cufflinks and ties? Fire away those questions. FoxNews.com/outnumbered. Click that OT tab. Harris is logging on now. So, Sandra, fire away.